The night was unusually quiet, the kind of quiet that felt heavy, almost warning, as if something life-changing waited just beyond the shadows. Rain poured outside like the sky was grieving, and thunder rolled through the dark town like a restless heartbeat. In a small, dimly lit apartment on the 4th floor, a tired single father named Ethan lay motionless on his worn-out couch, still wearing his work uniform, too exhausted to even stretch properly before sleep. His life had been a loop of sacrifices, lonely dinners, and silent prayers, prayers that never seemed to reach anywhere. But everything changed when, at 3:27 a.m., someone knocked at his door. It wasn't a normal knock, it was soft, hesitant, but filled with something that felt both desperate and deeply personal. It was the kind of knock a heart recognizes before the mind does. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, healing, and the hidden miracles that life quietly prepares for people who suffer in silence, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Your support helps these real feeling emotional stories reach broken hearts that need hope. Ethan slowly opened his eyes, struggling to understand whether the knock was real or just part of his exhausted dreams. He waited, breathing heavily, hoping it would stop, because life had taught him that unexpected knocks rarely brought good news. But the knock returned, slightly stronger, as if the person on the other side was losing courage and time at the same moment. Ethan dragged himself toward the door, feeling the ache in his shoulders from another 12-hour labor shift at a local factory where his efforts were invisible and his salary barely enough for rent, school fees, food, and bills. He opened the door slowly, prepared to turn away strangers, debt collectors, or neighbors in need of anything he didn't have the strength to give. But when the door fully revealed who stood outside, he froze completely. There, trembling under a broken streetlight, stood a teenage girl around 15 or 16, drenched with rainwater dripping off her hair and clothes clinging to her fragile body, knees shaking from cold and fear. She did not look like someone simply caught in the rain, she looked like someone who had walked through miles of emotional storms before reaching his doorstep. What struck Ethan the most was not her soaked backpack or her swollen, sleepless eyes. It was the way she looked at him as if she had rehearsed this moment her entire life. And then in a shaking whisper that carried the weight of destiny, she said words that shattered the world beneath Ethan's feet. "You don't know me, but I'm your daughter." Time seemed to freeze, and Ethan's breath stopped midway. His mind raced in confusion as memories, regrets, unanswered questions, and long-buried emotions surfaced. Years ago, he had deeply loved a girl named Emily, kind-hearted, artistic, full of dreams. Their young love was pure, but life tore them apart before they even understood how much they meant to one another. She moved away suddenly due to family problems, and Ethan never heard from her again. No goodbye, no closure, no explanation, only heartbreak that time tried but failed to heal. And now, in the cold darkness, a girl claiming to be the daughter he never knew existed stood at his door looking like a piece of the broken past searching for its missing place. Ethan stepped aside silently, unable to speak. She walked in slowly, dripping water onto the floor, clutching her backpack like a lifeline. The apartment was small, quiet, and humble. She looked around not with disappointment, but with a strange familiarity, as though she had imagined something similar. Ethan placed a towel near her and she sat down, not knowing whether she was allowed to breathe freely yet. Her name was Lily. She explained quietly that her mother Emily had passed away 2 months earlier after battling a long illness. With no relatives willing to take responsibility and no stable home left, Lily had nowhere to go. In her mother's last days, she confessed the truth, that Ethan was the man she once loved, the man who would have been a wonderful father, and the man she regretted losing. Lily found Ethan's name and a partial address written inside an old journal. Emily had told her that no matter how life treated her, Ethan was someone who would never turn his back if he knew the truth. Lily spent weeks traveling by strangers' kindness, shelter homes, cold benches, hunger, and unending fear. Every step taught her about rejection, yet something inside her kept whispering that she was close. As Ethan listened, guilt and heartbreak twisted inside him. He realized he hadn't just lost a lover, he had unknowingly lost the chance to protect, love, guide, and raise a child that carried a part of his soul. Lily looked like someone who had survived storms she never deserved to face. He didn't question her, didn't push her away. Instead, he made her warm food and watched her eat slowly, as if she didn't fully trust that food would always be there. He offered her his bed and slept on the floor, staring at the ceiling as waves of regret drowned him. Not regret because she came, but regret because he never knew he should have looked. In the following days, they learned each other slowly. Lily was cautious, quiet, apologetic even when unnecessary, and always prepared for rejection. Ethan observed her habits, noticed how she ate like she didn't want to take more than necessary, how she feared sudden loud voices, and how she avoided eye contact when she felt vulnerable. She wasn't just looking for shelter, she was hoping to be chosen. Their bond formed gently. She began attending school again, helped with small chores at home, and decorated her corner with drawings and handmade paper stars. She smiled occasionally, laughed softly, and for the first time in years, Ethan felt his home had life again. But fear still existed, fear of society's doubt, legal complications, financial struggle, and most of all, fear that Lily might think she wasn't enough to stay. Ethan decided to take a DNA test, not because he doubted love, but because he wanted the world to never question her belonging. When the results arrived, he opened the envelope with trembling hands while Lily stood beside him, terrified of a future she couldn't survive alone. The test confirmed she was indeed his biological daughter. But Ethan did something unexpected. He burned the paper. He looked into her teary eyes and let her know that even if that paper had said otherwise, he would still have chosen her. Love, he believed, is not proven by ink or blood, but by who stays, protects, heals, and never gives up. From that moment, Lily cried not from pain, but from finally feeling wanted. They moved to a slightly better home, built routines filled with warmth, learned to communicate, celebrated small achievements, and slowly healed the wounds that the world never apologized for. Lily grew confident, hardworking, hopeful, and proud to introduce herself as someone who lived with her dad. Ethan worked harder, not out of fear, but out of purpose, the purpose to be the father life had once hidden from him. Years later, Ethan stood in a crowded auditorium watching Lily receive her graduation certificate with honor. When her name echoed through the hall, Lily looked at him from the stage with eyes filled with gratitude, pride, and completion. The same girl who once arrived at his door in the cold rain now stood under bright lights, not as a lost child, but as a young woman who had finally found home. If this story touched your heart, if you believe no child deserves to walk through life feeling unwanted or alone, please like, share, subscribe, and comment to support Whispers of Kindness so more emotional stories can reach people who secretly need hope. Before leaving, please comment, family is not always blood, sometimes it is destiny.